So we got about 4 hours. This morning we didn't see anything. Stay tuned. So this is Ben, who we stayed with. He's from New York, in a campground, and he got this nice 8-pointer about 2 days before we arrived at camp for our 3-day hunt. So this is day 1 for us in the afternoon. You can see that logging trail right there, and we found about 3 or 4 pretty freshly used scrapes. Here's a ravine right to my right, so this is kind of at the top of a draw. Deer were forced to kind of go over the top of this, and that's where I found the scrapes. And if you look there, my friend Chris is on the other side of this ravine, overlooking some other scrapes, because there were some scrapes on both sides, and we weren't sure where they're going to come from. There wasn't any super thick bedding that's to stand out by these scrapes. I know it's best to hunt it with you got thick bedding next to it. But we did find some beds in the CRP just right above this, towards the top. And so we saw some fresh sign. I saw a huge rub about 100 yards away from here also. So we gave it a try. We didn't see anything that first night. All right, day 2 here. Me and Chris coming in this morning. Almost got a stalk at a really nice buck on the way in. He just saw us before we saw him. And then I had 2 does. I almost got a shot at 2 does on the ground here before I was trying to pick out a tree. I'm in a doe bedding area. Just had a buck skirt me about 80 yards that way. So at 12:30 that was. It's been a good morning. Saw 2 bucks. One real pretty nice one. And then 2 does. I'm gonna sit here until closing time. My friend Chris passed on a 6-point he had really close to his stand, so it's been a great morning. And Leaf shot a giant public land buck this morning. So Leaf shot this dandy. It was our day 2, his day 5, I believe, of hunting, as those guys stayed for about a week. I think this buck was on a transition, right off of some doe bedding, I think he kind of said. But just a monster. It ended up scoring 138. Ben, who you saw in a previous picture with that 8-pointer, was going with Leaf pretty much every day, trying to film him. And Ben decided to sleep in this day, so we don't have this on film. There's Leaf on the right of last year's buck he got from this area. And there's also Jason from New York who shot a dandy. He was with us as well for this week hunting also. Okay, here's that 6-pointer Chris passed on that I mentioned earlier. This is day 2. As you can see, he comes a full draw here. And he decides to pass on it. He's wearing the action camera, GoPro on his head. Deer seems like it's, I don't know, 30 or 40 yards, but I think it was actually 10 yards by the time he actually walks past him here. Some verses that we talked about back at camp was Proverbs 2, 1-11. My son, if you accept my words and store up my commands within you, turning your ear to wisdom and applying your heart to understanding. And if you call out for insight and cry aloud for understanding, and if you look for it as for silver and search for it as for hidden treasure, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He holds victory in store for the upright. He's a shield to those who walk as blameless. For he guards the course of the just and protects the way of his faithful ones. Then you will understand what is right and just and fair, every good path. For wisdom will enter your heart, and knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Discretion will protect you, and understanding will guard you. I just love those verses. Challenges us to think about if we are searching God's word, searching for it like hidden treasure. And if we are, look at all the awesome benefits we get from that. Okay, so this is day 2. This is about 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm about a mile and a half back. We found a spot that was like good doe bedding, and sure enough it was. I was kicking does out of there in the morning to try to get up in the tree. Had a buck skirt me earlier at 12:30, and I did have a doe tag, so this deer was coming from about 6 o'clock. I was saddle hunting facing the tree. Thought that she was going to come more to my strong side. As you'll see here, she's probably about between 6 and 7 o'clock right now facing me, so I had a hard time getting a full draw because I was at a weird angle, but I finally did. And then right here she decides to go on the opposite side I was expecting. So had I not had my camera arm, I could have just kind of swung into the tree with my right hip against the tree and made the shot. Probably would have been like a 10-yard shot, but my camera arm was in the way. Of course I couldn't grab my camera arm when at full draw. So I had to let down there. And I get on her again here, as you'll see. But then I didn't have a shot. That's the tricky part with self-filming. It's almost like you have to shoot the deer twice. Once with the camera and then once with your weapon. But turned out it's probably a good thing because I was about 1.5 miles back. And that would have been a long drag for a doe. Overall, day 2 was really good for our group as a whole. Leaf got that monster. I ended up seeing 7 deer total on the second day. At this spot right before, actually at 10 minutes after shooting light, as I was packing up getting down, I had 2 doe work in the same way this doe did, and then a bigger body deer was kind of bumping them around, so I'm guessing that was a buck. I couldn't tell because it was, again, 15 minutes after shooting light. I was packing up, but I'm assuming that was a buck that was kind of bumping those does. Me and Chris saw that nice deer walking in right as sun, right at the beginning of the season, and then also Chris passed on that smaller buck as well. So overall, it was really positive day. Couple desperation ester splits there. See if that doe wanted to come back, but she kept walking. Out of my life forever. Here we are, day 3. We only had a half day to hunt, so we hunted until lunch and then had to go back, check out of our campsite, and head home. We're set up right where there's Chris right there, right where Chris passed on that. We had like 6 or 7 scrapes there, some really good trails, just a good area. It was closer to the parking area, which, and come to find out, there was some standing corn still and some private, which is like a 1/4 mile away. So that could have been where they were working out from. If you're anything like me, I try to get back as far as possible, and in reality sometimes I just need to let the sign dictate where I go. But I did see a bunch of 7 deer back there, but I joined Chris for an easier walk on the last hunt here. So I saw a doe back there through this brush, and then a flash of antler, and I was just waiting for him to come out here. He's going to probably either go left towards us or right back up towards the hill, and he chose the right. But as he was walking away, it was a really nice, probably 18-inch wide chocolate horned buck, and just broke our heart. And then I turned the camera off as I frantically was trying to reach for my grunt tube as he was walking away. It was a cool way to end the hunt, seeing that giant. But also know that we'll be, Lord willing, be back in the future. Thanks for watching.